Welcome to this session about nature connection and mental health. I'm Stacy. I'm one of the coaches here at Shine Coaching, and I wanted to talk to you all about nature connection and its many benefits for mental health, but also a little bit about why that is. Why is the natural world so important for and so good for our mental health and well-being? At Shine Coaching, we do bring in nature quite a lot in some of the sessions that we run. So I'm going to start here in looking at what are the main challenges that we're facing at the moment in the world. And there's a triple crisis that is ongoing. The first one is around human health. So that's mental health and physical health. But we are facing a health crisis at the moment. There's also an ecological health crisis. Nature is in decline. Our natural world is really struggling because of the impact of people on the planet. And there's also climate change as an ongoing challenge that is impacting massively across the world today. So there's gathering evidence that shows that helping people to deepen the connectedness that they feel to nature is one way to help mitigate all of these crises, as it's good for our well-being, but also connection with the natural world. Not just being out in nature, but feeling connected to nature drives people to take more pro-environmental behaviours. So it helps people to really think about doing things that are more beneficial for the natural world rather than things that are harmful. We, as a species, humans, we're part of the natural world, not separate from it. And when we're looking at nature and health and that connection that we have together, if nature thrives, we thrive. If nature is struggling, we will struggle. And that the health of the natural world and our own holistic health are intimately linked. And this is what we call a One Health model. So our environment, the natural world around us, has a direct impact on our own health and well-being. So to look a bit more into this One Health model, it holds that personal health isn't just the absence of disease. It's about us being able to flourish. Our personal health, when we think about that, that's both mental and physical, and it's an interconnected part of our social health. So the health of the communities that we're around, our friendships, who we spend our time with, and also environmental health as well, so that ecological health. So that's the quality of the environment that we're in and the natural world around us from both a local perspective, but also out into the world as well. Being unwell in one part of this will impact the others. And being well could be seen as a subjective experience when you, the personal, feel motivated, find pleasure and purpose because of meaning and positive connections to people, which is the social, all held in a positive, inspirational connection to nature and your local environment, which is the ecological part of this model. We've more than ever before started to see ourselves as separate from nature rather than a part of it. This disconnect from our contact and relatedness to the natural world has come about through many different things, but we can think about industrialization. We don't have to hunt or forage for our food anymore. We can just go to any supermarket and we can buy foods off the shelf. So we've become completely disconnected to where our food comes from. We've got urbanization, so more and more people live in towns and cities. Again, it's a disconnection from our natural world. And then we've got technology more prevalent in our lives than in any other point in time before in the history of the world. There's data to suggest that if you own a smartphone, you are 80% less likely to feel connected to nature and the natural world around you. Our attention is being pulled in so many different directions through the technological advances that we've made as a society. And there's some really good benefits from this technological advancement, but there's also a cost. And this is the cost, is that we're becoming more disconnected from our natural world. Even references to nature in things like song lyrics and on TV have decreased over the last few decades. Some people have access to really good quality natural environments and other people have none. Our ecological self is in decline, so a part of our own well-being is in decline. Researchers defined nature connection to be a sense of oneness with nature. And there's a lovely sentence that I read as part of this research, and it says, "It is feeling, not knowing, our natural family that is important for our connection. Our emotional relationship really does matter." Feeling the connection, not mentally understanding it, but feeling that connection on the inside. That's what's important, our emotional relationship with nature. Derby University have been carrying out research into the benefits of connecting with nature to human health and well-being, and how we act towards the earth, how we care for the earth as a result of feeling that connection. So in 2018 there was a review on nature and health, and it found that being in nature has many benefits for our mental health and well-being. So there's strong and consistent evidence for benefits that come from exposure to natural environments, including reductions in stress. Our internal microbiome, our gut bacteria, and the quality of that gut bacteria is improved through having direct contact with nature. And that means that we've got a really healthy immune system, and it reduces inflammatory-based diseases, so things like asthma. If we've got a really good, strong internal microbiome, then we're more resilient to things like that. And there's small bits of evidence that link being out in nature with a better heart rate, blood pressure, vitamin D levels. People heal faster from illness or injury. Cortisol levels are lower. That's our stress chemical. It's lower when we spend time in nature. And prevalence of type 2 diabetes is lower as well. Interestingly enough, if we spend time in nature and it's purely in an educational way, so if we're studying nature to learn about it or to gain knowledge, or when we're kind of doing things like hunting or just taking something from nature, so growing vegetables, for example, that kind of a relationship with nature, although it has benefits, it didn't come with long-term well-being benefits to the same extent as actually having a connection with nature, so feeling that oneness with nature. That has longer-term benefits for our mental health and well-being. There's a growing body of research that shows that people who are more connected with nature are usually happier in life and more likely to report feeling that their lives are worthwhile. Nature can generate many positive emotions, such as calmness, joy, and creativity, and can help us to be able to focus our attention more. Nature connectedness is also associated with better mental health, particularly lower levels of depression and anxiety. The key message of all the research that's been done is that we need to shift our attention away from getting people to visit the natural world to focus on how people can actually tune in and connect with the everyday nature that's close to their home. Even if they've not got access to real open spaces, there will be some nature coming through close to their home, and how do they develop a relationship and connect with that nature? And that has been found to bring benefits to mental health through the 3 R's, and we're going to talk about those here. So the first R is relaxation. So when we connect with nature, we reduce our levels of stress and we increase our feelings of well-being. Restoration is the second one. So nature connectedness brings a restoration of our attention, feeling more whole and connected. And it also brings revitalization. So that means a purpose and an aliveness and feeling inspiration. The researchers concluded that there's 5 main pathways to nature connection. So I've talked a lot about nature connection now and about the benefits of it, but how do we actually do it? These 5 pathways give us the keys to how we connect with nature. And this, again, is research conducted by Derby University, and they've said that these 5 pathways are predictors of connection with nature. Senses are the first way that we connect with nature. And we're going to provide you a taste of this in a grounding exercise, which you'll find close to this video on our YouTube channel. When we take time to note what we can see, hear, feel, taste and smell in the natural world, it's a gateway to connectedness. Taking time to do simple things like touch the bark of a tree or put your hands in the soil, listen to the birds, listen to the rustling in the leaves of small creatures. Taking that time to tune in with our senses to the natural world around us is a really active way of making that connection. I'm going to skip over emotions for a moment and come back to that at the end, but the next way of really forming that connection with nature is through meaning. Long-term happiness is directly related to the meanings that we create from our experiences. As humans, we're meaning-making machines. We always want to have a meaning behind something. So what meaning can we recognise in the natural world around us? What memories does it evoke? I see a particular kind of tree and I'm taken back to when I was a child and used to climb trees with my cousins. There's lots of memories that the natural world will bring up for us. So what memories does it evoke in you? What metaphors can we draw on? An example of that might be if you see a tree that's been chopped down and lots of small shoots are still continuing to grow from the stump of the tree. Can that be reflected to our own situations in life where we feel like we've been felled? We feel like we've come up against such hard adversity that it's like that tree being chopped down, and yet it is still growing. It is still throwing out shoots. Now that to me is resilience, and we can learn from that. Like the changing of the seasons. How can we evoke meaning from the changing of the seasons? When the trees are shedding their leaves, what is it that we need to shed in our own lives to move forward into a new season? There's lots of meanings that we can draw from nature. Narratives and stories exist about the natural world around us. Stories used to get passed on from generation to generation, and there were lots of stories around nature, around the spirits of nature, around the natural environment, and we don't tend to pass on stories from generation to generation anymore, but they still exist. So what narratives and stories exist about the natural world around us? Compassion is the next pathway. So compassion is recognizing that in order to be resilient to and flourish, we need to care for ourselves, for each other, and the natural world. It is vital. So compassion here, and feeling that compassion towards ourselves, each other, and the natural world actually goes both ways as well. So it's not just about us caring for ourselves, each other, and the natural world, but also about us being able to accept care from others and also from the natural world. So where can we do things that support nature, but also can we tune in and notice how nature supports us in return? And beauty. Beauty is when we stop to notice, and when we stop and pay attention and notice the beauty in the natural world around us, whether it's a tiny flower, whether it's a weed growing up through the pavement, or whether it's a beautiful landscape that takes our breath away. It might be a beautiful sky. Whatever it is that we stop and notice and find beauty in, we then get feelings that arise as a result of that. We get emotions that come up. And, sometimes we might even get that sense of awe about a particular thing. And that feeling of awe, that has been shown to be incredibly beneficial for our well-being. So beauty is another way that we can feel connected to the natural world around us. And I said I'd come back to emotions. Emotions is energy in motion. All of the pathways that we've talked about so far will generate some form of emotion in the person who is connecting to nature through those pathways. And there are 4 recognised primal emotions that we share with much of life. So they are anger, sadness, fear, and joy. So think about this. Where do you feel each emotion, each of those 4 primal emotions in your body? Is there a place where you feel each one? And do you see these emotions reflected back to you in nature? So there you have it. Take some time today to think about these pathways. Think about what we've talked about in this video and see if you can experience the relaxation, restoration and revitalization that connecting with nature can bring. And if you want a helping hand with that, the next video that we've produced is a grounding exercise. It's a nature connection grounding session that you can listen to wherever you are. We've provided nature sounds in the background so that even if you're sat at a desk or at home or on the train, you can still get that sense of nature connection through listening. So do take 10 minutes of your day to connect into nature through your senses by listening to our grounding video as well. Thanks for your time, thanks for your attention, and thank you for learning a little bit more about connecting with nature.